Let me ask you something. Have you ever underestimated someone only to watch them rise quietly, steadily, while you could do nothing about it? That's what's happening with India, and now the West is beginning to realize it. But here's the twist. This shift didn't happen with fanfare, no big headlines, no global declarations, but something real did happen, quietly, irreversibly. India stopped waiting for permission, and that was the moment the West began to lose control, not just politically, but economically, digitally, culturally, across the board. For over 200 years, India was under foreign rule, but the British didn't just take land, they tried to take control of the Indian mind. They rewrote India's history, reshaped its education, and instilled the belief that India was somehow lesser. They didn't need an army, they needed a story, and for a while that story worked. But you can only suppress true potential for so long. Voices began to rise. Gandhi, Bose, Bhagat Singh, and millions of others, some known, many forgotten. They weren't just fighting for land, they were restoring belief that India didn't need to be ruled. India needed to remember who it truly was. Even after independence in 1947, a colonial mindset lingered. The West still viewed India as a follower, and many within India still looked outward for approval. But slowly that began to change. India embraced its chaos and turned it into a strength. 1 billion people, hundreds of languages, thousands of traditions. This wasn't disorder, it was diversity with direction. Then came the education revolution. India's classrooms weren't always state-of-the-art, but the ambition inside them unstoppable. The IITs, the IIMs weren't just universities, they became launch pads. The West started recruiting Indian talent, but what they didn't realize was that India was preparing to build something for themselves. India stopped asking, "Can we?" and began declaring, "Watch us." They stopped chasing Western validation and started creating their own value. Indian entrepreneurs stopped waiting for foreign investors. They built for India first, and the world began to follow. That's when something deeper shifted. India wasn't just exporting talent anymore. It was exporting ideas, yoga, Bollywood, Ayurveda. They weren't just Indian traditions anymore. They were global movements. India had stopped being the back end. It had become the brain. Think about this. While Western countries were still writing checks and dealing with outdated banking systems, India created UPI, a digital payments infrastructure that allows instant transfers, no middlemen, no delays, no privilege required. A tea vendor in a rural village could accept a payment in seconds faster than a restaurant in New York. That's not catching up, that's leadership. And it all started with one bold move. India decided to build for itself. Aadhaar wasn't just a digital ID, it was digital dignity. It gave over 1 billion people a recognized identity, many for the very first time. The invisible became visible, the excluded became empowered. This wasn't surveillance, it was inclusion. While the West debated privacy, data ethics, and tech monopolies, India quietly built the largest public digital infrastructure in the world, not driven by corporations, but built by the state, for the people. Subsidies reached those who actually needed them, banking reached even the remotest corners, and data became the great equalizer, the true power shift. It happened when India stopped reacting and started innovating. India didn't imitate the West, it created its own path, it didn't rebel, it evolved, it didn't confront the West, it outgrew it. 2008, the global financial crisis, banks collapsed, markets crashed, confidence was shattered, but for once, India wasn't the one in crisis. The West was. Why? Because India hadn't built its economy on speculation. It had built on substance. Its banks weren't gambling. Its financial systems were grounded, regulated, and based on real growth. And while the West scrambled to fix its broken systems, India stayed steady. It stimulated local demand. It doubled down on technology. It stayed focused. And slowly the world noticed India wasn't just surviving, it was maturing. The the illusion shattered. That power had to come from the West. People within India began to realize they didn't need to follow a broken model. They could build their own, and they did. Startups rose. Local innovation flourished. India was no longer just a place for outsourcing. It was solving real problems, not just for the world, but for themselves. This wasn't about flag-waving nationalism. It was about quiet confidence. Millions lifted from poverty. Remote villages connected to the internet. Ideas, aspirations, and ambition unlocked. India became a land of possibility, not paradox. So when did India truly break free? Not in 1947, but the moment they stopped seeking Western approval and started acting on their own vision. Here's a truth few say out loud. Real control isn't lost when someone takes your power away. It's lost when the person you once controlled realizes they don't need you anymore. India has arrived, not with noise, but with clarity, not in revolt, but with resolve. And the world, it's listening now, because the West didn't just lose control, it lost the script. And India is writing the next one. Thanks for watching.